Welcome to Horror Melee,
a podcast born of a group of people who love to talk and debate horror.
Every episode, one of us picks a movie to review, and the rest of us must either suffer or enjoy that pick.
Turn your brain off and enjoy.
For this episode, and with me I have Patrick.
Hey.
And Stephanie.
Hello.
And today we are going to be talking about the 1992 horror comedy, black comedy, we'll discuss that, Death Becomes Her. Death Becomes Her is about two childhood frenemies. I think this is like the best definition of frenemies. who are constantly trying to outdo the other. Their rivalry takes a deadly turn when one learns about an immortality treatment. So this movie is directed by Robert Zemeckis, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of.
Who's Robert Zemeckis?
Who's that guy?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Are we going back to the future?
Oh. It was written by Martin Donovan, who did a lot of sitcom episodes, and David Koepp, not sure how to say his last name. He did the screenplay for Jurassic Park, Mission Impossible, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, Stir of Echoes, and Secret Window. It stars... yeah, I kind of feel that too. It stars Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, Bruce Willis, and Isabella Rossellini. The budget was $55 million. This is a fun fact. This opened the same weekend as the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It did about a little over $12 million opening weekend, and a gross of about $58.5 million. So it did all right. Not too great. I think people mostly saw it when they rented it back in the day when you could rent movies.
Yeah, I read that it was kind of a flop when it came out in the theaters, but it obviously has become a huge cult classic.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's big in it's like a big LGBTQ movie as well. Yep. And
I wonder why.
I wonder.
So random.
Possibly.
It's. I can send you a beautiful Vanity Fair article on why it's pretty big in the LGBTQ.
Oh, that'd be great if you could link that in there.
Oh, definitely. I definitely will. Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend Adam is super into it. It's like one of his favorite movies.
Yeah. There's a couple of drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race. They do a comedy review. It's called Drag Becomes Him.
Yes, I read about that.
Yeah. I went to go see, who did I see? I saw Sharon Needles at a bar in Chicago, and she did Goldie Hawn's character, Helen. It was amazing. So I picked this movie because I have seen this, I was probably maybe 6 or 7 when I saw this. So back when you can rent movies on VHS, we did the whole rent it, copy it from the rented movie onto the blank VHS. And I don't know what my parents did, but I think they didn't format it correctly because it ran out of tape at the end of the movie. So right when you get the shot of the church, when they're at the funeral, my tape ended. So I had,
oh no!
Before I got the DVD of this movie when I was a teenager, I had seen the ending once in my life. The movie would end, and then I would like close my eyes and fill in the blanks of what happened. So that's a fun memory. But I know that when I was that little, I did not understand the jokes. but I loved it so much. It was so funny. It was just that comedic timing. And I'll get into this a little more when we get to the part, but that dark humor. I didn't realize how much I loved it. And I didn't, of course, being that young, I didn't realize that I was forming what my humor would become. And this was, I feel like that Kickstarter that got me going. So, Stephanie, what'd you think?
I'm right there with you. I definitely rented this movie with my parents. I mean, I guess I should say my parents rented this movie, but the early 90s, late 80s had all these really wacky, dark comedies that were pretty morbid. I totally didn't understand it as much when I was young. I mean, this came out in 92. I was 8-ish. But, I mean, this is up there with, like, The Burbs, Don't Tell Mom, The Babysitter's Dead, Serial Mom, all these very, like, murdery, not super gory, but dark comedies, you know? And, yeah, I, like, my parents, I guess, I don't know if, like, maybe I was just, because I was the youngest of 3 kids, that they were like, whatever, you know, the other 2 are old enough, or if they were just like, whatever. But yeah, I mean, seeing people shoot people in the stomach and stab and be morbid wasn't a taboo. You know, like I mentioned The Burbs, and that's like super spooky comedy. I remember seeing that in the theaters, like going with a babysitter. My parents were out of town and they were like, hey, you know, we're going to go see this movie. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I didn't understand half the movie. I mean, it definitely spooked me, but you know, I wasn't like scared, you know, because it was a comedy. Mm-hmm. So I guess like, yeah, you know, you kind of learn to have a dark humor, yeah. A very dark sense of humor. Thank you, 90s.
What did you think, Patrick?
So this was a first time a watch for me. I was in diapers when this movie came out.
Very true, yeah.
I was born in 91, March 20th, 91, so it was just a little over a year, or in baby terms, it was like, I don't know, 14 months. I have to say, I really love this movie. It had like this very, you know, we had talked about the dark humor already, but it also had this very kind of whatever happened to Baby Jane feel to it between Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn, yeah. But way more comedic. And seeing Bruce Willis just be a total fucking weenie was way out of character for him. So I really, really enjoyed this movie. It was a lot of fun. It was kind of weird though. The pacing of the film was very strange to me. But I think it's just because it's a 90s movie, and 90s tend to do that. It's like they do a lot in the beginning and then they rush the end. And that's what it kind of felt like to me. Is like the ending was very rushed. But that opening scene where she's sitting in her apartment with all the cats and she's just fat is so funny.
Wait, what is she eating? Is it like
icing? It's
icing.
Yeah.
I thought it was marshmallow. Like the fluff.
Like fluff?
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. The one scene that made me like this movie was, you could tell it was improvised by Meryl Streep, was that whole flaccid scene. You could see where she's just like trying to think of different things to say, and that's what she comes up with, and it was great.
You are nothing. You're a tragic, boozy, flaccid clown. That's it. Flaccid.
That's what you say, Madeline.
Flaccid.
Watch what you say, Madeline. I don't have to take this anymore. I don't have to take this any longer.
Oh, yeah, you'll take it. You'll take everything I have to give. You always have. You're not even a man anymore, and I need a man. A real man, not some drunken, broken-down, flaccid undertaker who is just as dead below the waist as his clients are. Hey, I might have more fun with one of your clients. At least I'd know I'd be getting something stiff.
I mean, props to Meryl Streep. She is a phenomenal comedic actress, and she deserves every single award she's ever received.
Absolutely.
I just her look, her delivery. I was watching this like as now I'm in my 30s and understanding the humor more.
Mm-hmm.
I was just fixated and staring at her just to see her every single move in this movie. So good.
Yeah, she was, she's definitely fabulous in the movie, but her character in the movie, I just hated her. Hated her so much. I knew that's her
likable.
character.
I love it.
No.
Well, I think that's the thing is like you have like villains, and people love villains, and there is no, who is the person you're rooting for? Like not even Bruce Willis, like you're kind of rooting for him, but you're not at the same time because he's third to Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, in the beginning of the movie, you have this feel for Helen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, poor Helen. I can't believe Ernest Menville did this to her. But by the end of the movie, you're just like, Ernest, I hope you find a better life, man. I hope you find that happiness that you need.
Get away from them. Yeah, you easily get a sense of all of these characters right away. Yeah. Like with Madeline in her dressing room when she's putting on her lipstick and she's like, Helen, you idiot. I'm like, I know this person. And yeah, when they're like sitting there watching her perform too, and Ernest is sitting there with his jaw open, and then Helen's just like, what the fuck? Like, you are going to fail my test. What the fuck?
I love how he's the only one in the audience that is like mesmerized by this, and everyone's just like, getting up and leaving like, this is trash.
Yeah.
I'm no like I lived in New York for 8 years and I saw 2 Broadway shows, like, but I was like, was it really that bad? I don't know. Like, I thought it was entertaining, the first number, the number that she did.
So yeah, that number, despite what everybody in that audience thought, that never stopped me from wanting to like perform that because it's just so fun and like upbeat and stupid.
And it's like I see me.
Yeah. With the disco.
Yeah, it's just like me.
Yeah.
I don't know, that was a pretty good number. I like the disco. I was like, okay. They had a lot of changes and dance moves.
Yeah.
Like, I was impressed. I wouldn't have like walked out. I would have been like, oh, okay, this is entertaining.
I like how they had the foldable mirror.
Yeah. So one of the things that my dad always liked and he always laughed at was their nicknames, Mad and Hel. And also, when you put Ern into there, because they call him Ern instead of Ernest the entire time, you get Madeline and Hel. Madder and Hel. Madder than hell.
Oh, it's like one of those, it's like that game Mad Gabs or something.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
And the scene where when they go to her book signing and she's like, no, I'll like, no, I'll say hi, because after like they think that she's not there, but then they look over, and they're like, oh, she's gained, maybe she lost a little bit or whatever they say, and then all of a sudden it goes to her and she's like, looks like Jessica Rabbit, which I was like, of course, because Robert Zemeckis just got done doing Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so why not make Goldie Hawn look like Jessica Rabbit?
That's my favorite Bruce Willis scene in that movie, where the lady comes up to him and is like, how did you get that? How did you make her look like that? I thought about it. I went to the hardware store and spray paint. I just started spray painting the skin tones on him. She just looks horrified.
I never understood why, though, because they're dead.
Yeah.
What do you care?
Okay. So I know we totally detoured, but like, I totally agree. Like, why are you horrified? Like, you literally asked him, what's your secret? And he told you the truth. You were offended,
I never, one thing I wish they explained, like, why is he not a plastic surgeon anymore? Why did he become a mortician?
He spent so much, I don't know, he spent so much time on Meryl Streep. He it was so agonizing to be married to her that he turned into an alcoholic, and that's how he got a shaky hand, and he couldn't throw his precision was off because he was an alcoholic.
Yeah, so why not work on dead people?
Yeah.
They're dead. Yeah, if you
can't hurt them.
If he fucks up, he'll just fix it.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Stephanie. We detoured from what you wanted to say.
Oh, totally fine. When when Madeline goes to talk to Helen, and she goes in, and then she's like, "No, I'm not going to do this." And then Helen turns around, and Madeline says, "Hell," because it's like, also because I think what is so. I also think people love this movie is because the characters are exaggerations, and we've all been in those positions where you're like,
absolutely,
oh, this person, and you're like, fuck, like,
yeah. I mean, everybody has a story where there's a coworker that you can't stand, but you have to work with them, so you put on your happy face, and
yeah,
it's
right,
very relatable. But yeah, what you said, it's an exaggeration, and that's what makes it so funny. Because it's so like, good. That's what you wish you could do.
I love how Helen, though, her whole motive in the entire movie is to just destroy Madeline. The entire movie. She just, from the beginning, we're just watching her get choked out over and over again in the movie, to writing a book to draw Madeline in, to meet both of them again. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's over, like, 14 years.
Yeah. And it's like, and then what they're arguing about, like, why they hate each other is the stupidest, most pointless thing.
You thought I was cheap.
Just like, wow. And then they just make up like that. It's just...
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta talk it out, Sometimes you just gotta take a shovel and on guard, right?
Yeah, bitch.
I want to know, before she goes to the book signing party, and she goes to, I don't know, that, like, beauty clinic, and you see the guy in the back room with all the tubes hanging out. What is happening to him? Is he getting new blood? Are they bathing him in milk? What's going on?
Well, that might be the plasma separation treatment that Madeline tried to get after 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There's so much understated comedy, little things like the guy's Mr. Chagall, his, like, twitchy eye.
Yeah.
Or, like, the attendant who has a French accent, then all of a sudden she sees her boss and she doesn't.
What I was saying before about this kind of being my first intro to just a dark sense of comedy. When Ernest is there doing surgery, and when Madeline comes with her flowers and her champagne, and he's there doing surgery, and you hear him say, like, oh, like, and then the patient's bleeding, and he lifts up his hand covered in blood to wave to her. That was, like, the moment where I was like, this is funny. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm so little, I should be put off by this or scared by this, because blood means somebody's hurt, and that's a scary thing. But it's just the way that they played off, just the way that it's set, their expressions, the way that they play off each other. It's like, this is really funny. And that, I think that's when I found, okay, I have a dark sense of humor.
A lot of people have a dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I totally,
yes.
I mean, I was shaking my head being like, yep.
Yeah.
Check. Same. Yeah.
There's so many little parts in this movie that kind of, like, without a lot of these little, like, background parts and stuff, the movie wouldn't be as good as it was to me. Like, for one example, the floating nuns in the hospital. Like, that's just just funny. Why are they floating?
Yeah.
I mean, they're like a scary, crying, floating nuns, but he's just like walking by them like it's nothing.
Yeah.
But that part, I was like watching. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah,
this
it's
is
just
great.
all those little things, like when Helen is on the phone and you see her in the mirror and she's just sitting there, and then it pans back and you see all these pictures of Madeline, like with her eyes crossed out, like all these things. It's like, oh shit, like she is not playing around. Like she is in this.
So when Madeline goes to get with her old young stud,
Dakota?
yeah, is that Helen in the room with him?
No.
No?
I
thought
think
it was.
that chick had like long blonde hair.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
That would have been better though for her character, just to be that like knows every little aspect.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be so good. I love that scene because she's like, "Can you try to lie quicker?"
Yeah.
Or what?
If you're gonna
she's
lie quickly.
Yes.
She's so ruthless in this movie.
Yeah,
Oh god, she's
So ruthless. In the morning, she wakes up. She's like, "Tell me how good I look."
And then the lady's like, "Well, it's only Thursday," and she's like, "Well, I need you to tell me this every day."
And when you see Madeline and Helen first meet, like after her show, it's like passive aggressive tennis. I love it. It's just one after another, and then half of the fun in this is watching the person who is not speaking, watching their reactions to everything that's going on. Like Meryl Streep, of course Meryl Streep, but she has these great reactions that just makes the whole atmosphere hilarious. And
there's so much shade. There is so much shade.
Yes.
And I think that's like part of why, people love it, especially, in the LGBTQ community, because there's so much shade. Like Madeline goes to the opening of an envelope, or when she's like, I'd stay away from wearing a bathing suit, especially a 2-piece. Or Helen being like, she's a woman, Ernest, from Newark, for God's sake.
Oh.
Not hating on Newark, I'm just, but it's just like, this is.
One thing I wanted to talk about was the A+ casting with Isabella Rossellini. Holy crap. Like,
what was her name in the movie? Liza Von
Lisa
Human?
Von Rumen.
Rumen, that's it.
Yeah, because if anybody doesn't know, she is a model. Used to be a model. She does a lot still. But having her having that model knowledge, she knows how to pose and like use her body to make everything look flowy and mystical, and it was just a great idea to use somebody like that rather than an actor who might not be as familiar with how to move like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember when I saw this, I was extremely intimidated by Liesl von Rumen.
Yeah.
By that character. I remember being like, whoa, this person is really intense. And I was a little bit scared of her.
Yeah.
She was scary.
Just like her man slaves.
Oh, in their WrestleMania costumes.
Yeah, I know. They're always planning to work out.
Even when they have like really nice suits on. Did either of you catch all of the little nods to Frankenstein? So I don't think I ever did, but being forced to like watch it with a more of an analytical brain and take notes on it, I was like, wow, there's a lot of little references to Frankenstein. And let's see, I have them written down. I said just a couple quotes that I heard. We're restricted by the laws of nature. And then when Madeline goes to see Liesl, and they're talking about death and getting older, and Madeline's like, well, it is the natural law, and she's like, screw the natural law. And then later when she's dead, and Ernest is like, you're in violation of every law I know. I violated what law? And the whole, like, it's a miracle, and the thunder and the lightning clap, and then later Helen's like, it's alive. And there's one thing that I did not notice. I saw this on IMDb, but when they're talking about, when Helen and Ernest are talking about the plan to kill Madeline with the car crash and everything, and they're doing the fantasy autopsy, and they do the whole case closed, in the background there is a jar with a brain that says abnormal. So I was like, oh, that has to be a nod to Young Frankenstein.
Oh.
So there's a lot of little Frankenstein stuff in this, and that's probably why I don't know if we're going to psychoanalyze me, where I love Frankenstein so much. It's like all these, themes that kind of thread through.
That line, though, that it's alive, that part had me dying. Where she stands up and she's like, it's alive!
Yeah, I never put two and two together as far as like the Frankenstein, but it definitely it's pretty obvious and pretty apparent.
Yeah, I didn't put it together at all. But it is some pretty clever writing in there. I'm kind of curious how much of it was improvised compared to actually being written down. Because improvising's always been big in comedy, more than ever now, which kind of has a flaw to it now. But back then, I wonder how much the writers wrote compared to Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep actually just it's their fifth or sixth time on the scene, and they're just starting to throw in their own little cues because they're really feeling their characters. I wish there would be some, like, I don't know. I wish I could find something on that, because that'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, I have the DVD. I know it's very limited on special features. It's like still gallery, which is useless. I know recently a Blu-ray has come out, but I don't know what kind of special features are on there. But I agree. I love to know that stuff.
Yeah. I think I will say it didn't like dawn on me until after I finished the movie, but the whole premise of this movie is so funny. Like, you're granted immortal life, and all you have one thing to do: take care of your body. And you hate someone so much that you literally kill them, and they can't die, so they kill you. And now you both are dead, and your bodies are decaying, but you have to be alive. It's so funny.
Yes. I didn't find I didn't look for necessarily any information or videos or any whatever on what was the inspiration behind writing this movie.
I would love to know, because I think someone was just, maybe they watched Frankenstein. They're like, how funny would it be if two people were immortal and they were dead?
Everyone loves the, like, what if you could live forever? But then the question of, well, what does your body do as like, or as an organic biological thing? Does your body live forever? Or like, what if you do get hurt? Your body's like, you live forever, but do you I guess do you automatically heal? But this movie definitely does not provide healing properties.
Right. Okay, so the scene where Madeline dies, I think that has scarred me for life. And I don't think I knew it until watching it this time around, because I have always randomly had a fear of anything I do, I'm going to break my neck. If I go to the playground, I'm going to break my neck. If I do a somersault, I'm going to break my neck. And watching this, I was like, and that's why. Because I do have that image of just me, just that crack. And I'm terrified of it. And so, yeah, this has scarred me for life.
I would love to fall down the stairs the way they do in the movie, where they just kind of linger there and they're just like, and they don't fall and they just keep standing there for like a minute. And someone either has to push them or save them.
I love that it comes back around to the very end with Helen and she just pulls her with. It's like, no, damn it, you're coming with me.
I love how their entire bodies break at that point.
Yeah.
Help me!
If that ever happened to me where I have to put myself back together with like bolts, nuts, screws, spray paint, but I'm immortal, I'm jumping in a thing of lava because that would just destroy the entire body and I probably would die. Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
If not, I just become the lava mountain. I don't know.
The lava mountain. What would happen if you do live forever but your body falls apart? I mean, obviously their heads were decapitated, spinning. I love the Helen's head is just spinning, and then when it slows down, she's like, "Do you remember where you parked the car?" But the scene where Madeline,
those insults.
Oh my god, because she's like, "Oh no, and he was like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry." And then when she's like, "Hurry up, you wimp," and then he goes boink with like his finger, and then she falls, and then when she like, it immediately goes to like the crack of her neck, and it's like so. The shot is like you see that neck break, and that is terrifying because you're like, wait, if I just trip and fall, I can just easily break my neck like that and die.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just gonna trip, fall, and break my neck.
Oh goodness. I also wanted to mention that they won an Academy Award for their visual effects.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to talk about the effects. Mm-hmm. Watching it, I was like, holy crap. This movie came out in 92. These effects totally hold up.
Yeah.
I mean, Robert Zemeckis, he's always been on that like forefront of technology, especially with visual effects. Way different visual effects from like James Cameron or Ridley Scott or anything like that. He's always done these very unique. Even Roger Rabbit was groundbreaking for its time when it came out. It still looks good.
Oh my god, yeah. Now, my friend Levi, I was talking to him about this movie, and he's in the industry, and he was saying that when he was little and saw this movie, like one of the things that he liked was the effects and how great they looked. And he had mentioned that the effects company that was used is ILM. It's Industrial Light and Magic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you a few. This isn't all of them, but just a few movies that I picked out that the company did special effects for. Star Wars movies, the Indiana Jones movies, Poltergeist, E.T., Back to the Future movies, The Witches of Eastwick, Willow, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Hook, Jurassic Park movies, Forrest Gump, Jumanji, Twister, Dragonheart, and Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, you know who started ILM?
Tell me.
Mr. George Lucas.
Yes!
Mm-hmm.
These are... And all of these movies that I just named, so they are kind of timeless. They look so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Willow, I love that movie. That was like a staple in my household.
Absolutely.
And everything looked so believable.
Yeah.
This movie I find kind of falls in this realm of just like a classic fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really get a lot of these anymore. Like Indiana Jones is a classic fun adventure movie. Get that anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Goonies is a classic.
Yes.
We have great movies coming out, and there's tons of movies that will stand the test of time that are coming out right now. But will they be these classics?
Yeah,
like
it's
this?
like movies now. I feel like they're trying to always one up each other, trying to be the big blockbuster. How much money can we get in? What name can we put in? And these I mean, okay, Death Becomes Her is not a great example because you have Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn in it. But, yeah, I feel like there isn't anything that is just, it's not trying to be this big blockbuster.
I mean, for the time, you know, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, those were big blockbusters, but they still are classics. Like, you know, I guess in this time that we have these Marvel movies that are just, you know, we need to put out 15 movies a year and then recycle them and put out another 15 to make money. Like, they're not classics. They're blockbusters and they're fun, but I will not consider them classics. Like, of course, I can't consider them classics because they're not old enough yet. But I don't think they're going to withstand a lot of the time.
Right.
Maybe a few of those Marvel movies, but I don't know. I feel like this was such a weird, unique period of film. Because Jurassic Park came out, a year before this?
Mm-hmm.
And then a year before that, you had Casino, which is not, you know, a big blockbuster, but still fucking
amazing.
classic.
Yeah.
I fucking love Casino.
Yeah.
I used to watch that movie all the goddamn time.
They used to play it like on TNT like over Christmas like randomly, and I would always watch it.
But you know, I know we were just talking about like action movies and blockbusters, but you know, this movie is a very funny, visually stunning comedic movie. What do we have now that are like these comedic movies? This is 40 Judd Apatow movies that explain way too much and are pointless to watch? I'm not, you know.
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, when you talk about movies, it makes me think of music and how no one's ever going to be like the Beatles or Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones, you know, or even like in the late 90s and the early aughts, like rap and hip hop at that time are still played. Like those jams are still played today. Yeah. Like dance music today versus like music that came out 10, 20 years ago isn't gonna, I don't know, like it doesn't compare. And I don't, like, you can't tell like, oh, well, this isn't gonna, you know, you don't know. You're right, Patrick, because you're like, well, you don't know what's classic now because it's new. But it's funny where, you know, you go to a wedding or something and you're playing like 70s and 80s and hits that everybody knows. You're not playing like hits from today.
Yeah.
I think it has, especially with music, pop music back then was very unique and kind of new. But pop music now is more of a formulated kind of music. And
I mean, pop music was formulated back in the day. I mean, come on.
Yes, for sure. For sure formulated. But it was also kind of new and they still kind of edgy. Now it's kind of the same rhythmic tones. Maybe not, and a lot of the lyrics have the same type of words in it. So it's like, they're kind of the same. Is film going down this route too, where it's like formulated? Because look at Marvel, it's very formulated, right?
I find that creating content is, and I know we've talked about this, so I know I talked about this before, but I feel like there's an oversaturation of content.
Yeah.
You know, like I would sit there and like listen to an album or watch a movie on repeat because that's all I had access to.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And now it's like you have access to so much that it doesn't hold the value that it had, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, I don't sit with an album like I used to.
No, not at all.
I don't sit with it, you know, I don't sit like, I mean,
because it's readily available now.
Yeah, I mean, you're just like, well, there's a billion options for me to watch. Like, you know, the only time I sit with something is when I slip a VHS tape in my, you know, 13-inch TV VHS combo, you know, and new movies today aren't coming out on VHS tape.
Right.
Like all those stuff are like from like, 2005 and below?
Yeah. I think this movie, though, would definitely still be considered one of those classics in the comedy realm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know about the horror realm, but definitely comedy.
Yes.
But yeah, and you know, I love that like Holly picked this movie because, you know, it has horror elements to it. You know, I mean, this isn't scary, but this is a zombie movie. Are they zombies? You know, they're obviously like, I mean, they're not vampires, but this is a zombie movie.
I would love to learn more about this immortal cult.
Yeah.
that we see at the end of the movie. Like, that would be so interesting to see.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, talking about the immortal cult, going back to Isabella Rossellini's character. Oh, the scene where like Madeline is there and she's asking Madeline like, guess my age, come on, I won't be offended. And Madeline's like 38 and the face she gives is like, what? You think I'm 38?
Yeah.
She's like 28, 23. Zombies, that's not dying, living forever. I mean, vampires, like being forever young and beautiful and wanting, like needing, like demanding attention. I mean, this is beauty, you know?
Yeah, it definitely plays upon like this vein and like vanity, just like, I need to be beautiful to be forever, to be loved.
Yeah.
You know, no one's gonna love me unless I'm beautiful.
And also like I was saying before, like going back to Frankenstein, just the natural law of death. Like we all have to face that.
Yes.
If we're quote lucky, we all have to face getting older, watching our bodies decay, and that's scary. Like one day you wake up and your body doesn't do what you want it to do. That's scary.
I'm 29. I woke up the other day and my back was hurting so bad. I'm starting to get gray hairs. I need to find this juice that they've been drinking.
Right? And even like Ernest, when he's giving the opportunity to drink the magic potion, he's like, what if I get lonely? Who am I going to hang around with? Madeline and Helen? Like, fuck no.
I would buy this potion, drink it, make my dog drink it, make my girlfriend drink it, and then we live together happily ever after. Levon would never die, and we wouldn't have to go through his death. I want to talk about the whole plan that Helen had, and then leading up to that fight scene, because this plan is very well thought out.
Oh,
she plays both sides of the field. You know, she's playing Madeline, she's playing Ernest, and then you know, she goes to Ernest's house and fakes everything, and immediately is just like, yeah, we have to murder her. She has to be murdered.
I know. I mean, come on, divorce in California. This is
do you
the
know
90s.
What they do to soft, bald, overweight Republicans in jail?
I love it when Ernest is like, I did it, I killed her, and the first thing that Helen says is, what part of the plan didn't you like understand? I mean, literally, I was like, yes, you're a Virgo. You're like, we went over this 3 times, and you just totally detoured. You didn't like, what part of the plan didn't you understand? We talked about this.
Because her endgame is not Ernest. Her endgame, she doesn't give a shit about Ernest.
No,
she doesn't want to be with him. She just wants to murder Madeline.
Yeah, she needs to eliminate Madeline Sharp. What's her last name? Madeline Ashton. Oh my God. Oh, it's Helen Sharp.
Helen Sharp, yeah.
I need to eliminate Madeline Ashton. And I love that scene in the asylum.
Yeah.
Where they're like, do you want to share anything, Helen? And she's like, yes. And as soon as she says Madeline, everyone's like, no!
Yeah, but I love that when she's talking to the doctor and you see that light bulb go off in her head. She's like, oh, eliminate her. And it's like, damn, she's playing the long con. And I totally respect that.
7 years later.
Yeah. She has a plan.
That fight scene they have, though, after,
Oh.
she gets a hole, shot through her.
I have a hole in my stomach.
That scene where you see the shadows fighting, and you can still see the hole with her, I was like, this is great. This is great. I wonder how they did this.
Yeah.
Because it looked really good. And then she sits on the couch and it goes right through her. The pole goes right through her.
Yeah, my friend Adam, one of his favorite scenes, when she comes down the stairs after listening to Goldie and Bruce plotting, and she says, "What have you two been plotting down here? Or should I say, what else?" And she literally hisses it. And then when she shoots Goldie, and then Goldie gets up and complains about only being wet. "Ernest, look at me, I'm soaking wet."
There's something also wrong with your blouse.
That cat fight, and who are you rooting for at that point? Just two villains? You have a weak character and two villains.
Yeah.
At that point, that was a turning point for me when I was like, I'm all about Ernest Menville. Because I feel for this guy. He's locked in. He's going to have to spray paint them constantly. He's going to have to put them back together constantly.
Well, it's also interesting because you have two very strong female leads, and you have this dude who is very weak, and he is just going along with whichever, who's ever the alpha at the moment.
Right.
He's
such a weenie. His character is such a weenie.
When I was little, and being as little as I was, it took me a very long time to realize that was Bruce Willis. And when I finally did, my mind broke for a little while.
Yeah, because it's not his typical character.
Not at all, no.
He's not walking through broken glass with bare feet.
Yeah, I had asked Alan to look up for me if Bruce Willis and Meryl Streep had been in comedic roles before this. And, very few. There were a couple here and there. So, Goldie Hawn, she's the powerhouse of comedy in this, but everybody shows up for this. There is not one weak actor.
No.
Yeah, I felt that Goldie Hawn was less comedic than Meryl and Bruce.
Yeah, and I was actually reading that Meryl Streep thought that the role of Helen was meant for her. I'm so glad it switched, though.
Oh,
because you would automatically think, oh, Goldie Hawn, she should be Madeline. Because it is, compared to each other, Madeline is the funnier character.
She played it so well, too.
So good.
Bitchy character. I mean, at the end, they're both just, trash human beings. But, in the beginning, Helen's just this little sad puppy dog. This little sad kitten.
Mm-hmm.
And Madeline is a fucking bulldog. So mean.
Mm-hmm. And it's, hey, Patrick, how weird was it to see Bruce with, hair?
Yeah, it was really weird. And a mustache.
But Bruce, it's so funny to see him as a comedic role, but he was, so tense the whole time. I was he does a good, freaker-outer.
Absolutely.
Bruce Willis may be bald, but that dude has aged pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, he has.
Same with Meryl Streep.
Maybe they did take that potion.
Yeah. It was probably the cocaine on set that helped him out.
Okay, yeah, because Liesel totally has a coke nail.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the first thing Katina pointed out. She's like, why does she have a coke nail? Yeah. And then at the end of the movie, so he drops the vial of the juice. I'm just going to keep calling it juice. And then he lives his life happily with 60-something kids.
I know, he had kids and then he adopted kids. He was like, I'm going to live forever through my kids.
And they're just in the back of the church laughing. Boo.
So do you, again, I know I said like I wish I want to know like the inspiration behind writing this movie. Like, what do you think was the inspiration behind this movie? Like in the 90s, like just forever young, forever beauty.
Yeah, I imagine you're just getting off the high of the mid to late 80s, right? Because you're in the early 90s still. You're 92, and you have this very glamorous Los Angeles scene with music, movies, and just like this glamorous actress and party scene. So I imagine it was kind of like they're like, well, what if we take these type of people, and what if they could have the choice to live forever? I mean, all these people were already well introduced into Hollywood, and they've probably dealt with so many of these different types of actresses like this, and I imagine that had to be some type of inspiration. I mean, even Robert Zemeckis, what was it in Back to the Future? He had problems with the cast, and even in Roger Rabbit, he had problems with the cast. So
what does that mean when you say problems with the cast?
Like divas.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's when they show Liesl's party, it very much focuses on these celebrities that there's Elvis, there's Andy Warhol, Marilyn Monroe. I always tried to figure this out when I was little. Because not having access to the internet yet, I wasn't able to look it up. But when Liesl says that one of her clients says, she simply says, "I want to be alone."
I was gonna ask. I was like, who is she talking about?
It's Greta Garbo.
Oh.
Who pretty much I haven't read much into her story since watching this, but that she was like, I just want to be left alone.
I wish David Bowie played Dakota. Just throwing that out there.
That would not be a bad thing.
No, but I going back, I imagine the inspiration of this movie was just divas, and then they wanted to add some type of twist to it.
Yeah, fun, a little bit of fun.
Yeah, because it makes fun, like totally making fun of that type of person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the vanity of it too.
Yeah,
the extreme vanity. I mean, having a plasma separation, like what the heck, like
because only in LA would you do something like that. Only in LA would you need to go to these extreme extents to look beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have to marry a plastic surgeon and.
Yeah, right? like you owe me, like your face alone owes me.
Do you think I'm starting to need you? All right. Does anybody have anything else? Should we go to Facebook responses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see what the book says.
Yeah. We asked people favorite lines, other horror comedies they liked. So Alan said his favorite line from this movie was when Liesl says, "You'll never grow old," to Ernest, and he does his little speech about, but what happens, if I get lonely and all that. And that's one of the things I do like too, because it gives you that little what happens after happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very it's one of the deeper questions in the movie, in a movie that's all about laughs. It's that little moment of, oh wait, what does happen? What would I
what
choose?
Do I do?
Yeah. And Alan also said other horror comedies he enjoys are Shaun of the Dead, Beetlejuice, Young Frankenstein, and 1986 version of Little Shop of Horrors.
Beetlejuice was a movie that I owned on DVD. It was one of the few I owned, and I watched it constantly.
All the time.
Constantly watched it.
Mr. Watson from Horror Corridor And the Watsy Horror Party podcast said that his favorite horror comedies are The Evil Dead 2 and Dead Snow, Red vs. Dead. Levi had said, I mentioned before that he was talking about the effects, the Industrial Light and Magic company. And the biggest thing he remembers from this movie is the falling down the stairs. And his favorite line is flaccid.
So funny.
Yeah.
Because he just constantly says it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
My friend Adam, who absolutely loves this movie, one of his favorite is after Madeline gets the potion, Liesel says, "Now a warning," and Madeline responds, "Wait, now a warning?"
That was always my mom's favorite.
Now you're telling me?
My mom says she loves this movie and she loves me. And that's all she had to say.
Aww. Well, we love Patrick too. Not as much as your mom, though.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to rate this?
Yeah.
Yeah, just wait. I found on Wikipedia just a little of the legacy and how Death Becomes Her has acquired a significant cult following, especially in the LGBTQ community. And it mentions the article in Vanity Fair that I had mentioned, so we'll definitely include a link. The movie has inspired a runway show on season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race as well. Tom Campbell, an executive producer of RuPaul's Drag Race, reflected on the appeal of the movie to gay audiences and says they're fighting for beauty, they're against the system, they're also villains, but we understand their complexity. We root for the undead divas because they're trying to win a game that's rigged against them, and, to borrow an apocryphal quote from Ginger Rogers, they sort of have to do it backwards and in high heels.
I love it.
That's
right?
a good way to put it.
Yes. All right. Patrick, what do you rate this? As your first time viewing, what do you rate this?
What are we rating it out of?
What I said, vials of potion.
I'm going to give this 4 vials of potion.
Out of
visual effects. Oh, out of 5, right?
Yes.
We're doing it out of 5, so I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. The effects were great. This movie had me laughing out loud. There was so much attention paid to the small little details. And you saw characters. I mean, I've never seen Bruce Willis ever act like that in a movie, so that was nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm going to give this 4 vials of potion out of 5.
Awesome. Stephanie?
I'm going to give it 5 out of 5. Bruce, Meryl, Goldie, Isabella, just flawless in their roles. This is a classic. I'm so glad no one's tried to recreate this because you can't. It's captivating. It stands the test of times. It's like a vial of that potion in of itself. You know, it's funny. It's got amazing visual effects that still stand today. Like, you can tell that it's a little fake, but it's not like, oh, this is obviously fake. Like, they did a really good job of making it, even like on my 4K 55-inch, monitor over here, it still looks really good.
Yeah, I am also going to give it a 5 out of 5. I think that this is absolutely like a popcorn movie. You're going to have so much fun watching it, but that doesn't make it any less quality than if you wanted to watch something deep. The characters themselves, they don't develop. Their characters don't go anywhere, but that's half the fun of it because you know exactly who these people are. They don't change, and it just sweetens the end because they're in the exact same place and they kind of deserve it, which makes it even better. And yeah, like you were saying, the effects, they still totally hold up. This is made in 92, and I agree. Like, you can see some things where it's like, yeah, that's, it's fake, but it doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
And the movies that I mentioned before, it totally holds up with those, like the older movies. And it always, I'm always cracking up watching this. I was kind of thinking of Clue when I was watching it, how you can just, every time you watch it, there is something else that you can pick up on. And like I was saying before, people's reactions to things that are being said, they don't have to say anything. You just see their reactions to what is being said. And it just elevates the comedy.
Comedy today is just too, this movie, and you mentioned Clue, they are funny movies and they're not crude. They're witty, they're smart. Nowadays, everything is so crude. I mean, a movie, Booksmart, came out. And sure, it had some funny parts, but it was so crude and just the language. And then you have another movie coming about, kids. And once again, it's just crude with intense language. And I wish more movies would be like this comedy, well done, like you said, popcorn movie. Mm-hmm. In Hollywood, if you're listening, this is what we want. We don't want these stupid fucking dumb comedy movies that are just vulgar.
Yeah.
Patrick, I totally agree. Like the new It, I was like, why are all these kids dropping F-bombs and there's so much profanity? I wasn't dropping like curse words at that age. Let's tone it down. Like no kid talks like that.
I don't mind crude language. I don't mind when there's profanity in it. Sometimes it is called for in certain scenes. But when you use it to replace something that could be more impactful being said, something witty, something clever, something just to affect the character, instead of just using the word fuck or shit or just adding it in to add it in, it's kind of poor writing.
Yeah, maybe it goes back to what you were saying before of, is there not a lot of improv going on? Is everything just being written out? You say what's on the script and, they're not, I don't know. I don't know.
I think comedy movies today have the issue. I love Will Ferrell, but you got to kind of thank him for this and his movies. Like, they have a base script, but they improvise everything, and they'll do 40 takes of one scene improvising it to find that one good golden moment. But how that's going to take you out of the scene.
Yeah.
When you have a script to work off of, or just better actresses and actors, you should only have to improvise a few times to get that scene. The chemistry should be there.
Right.
You should feel it. It should be locked in. But once again, when you improvise more in these newer movies, they get caught up on a word. They just say fuck or shit.
I wish I could try and explain and pinpoint the kind of comedy that I like, but I can never find the words for it because I don't like the excessively crude humor. I do like it, but it's like the physical comedy, like Three Stooges kind of thing. It's like that. I don't know. It's just, there's something there.
It comes down to one thing. When you improvise so much, you lose the main thing in comedy. Timing. Your timing. When you have the right timing, the joke's going to hit so much better.
True.
When you improvise over and over and over and over again, you're going to get so exhausted doing that same scene. Your timing's just going to be through the roof.
Then you just want it over.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're thinking more about the joke than the actual delivery of it.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And some comedians can do that flawlessly.
Mm-hmm.
Not every single one. But in this movie, Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn, their characters are so well together because when they bicker, the timing is perfect. Their reactions are perfect. It's like they've been doing it naturally for years with each other.
Have either of you ever seen Goldie Hawn in Laugh-In? No. Like the old show, Laugh-In? So if anybody has never seen Laugh-In, go see it. It's a hilarious show, and Goldie Hawn is the perfect. She does so well. She's like this blonde bimbo. She plays it off like she has no idea what's going on, and she does it perfectly because she is so smart in how she does it. Her delivery and everything, it is perfect. And she is amazing. I love her.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. It's a good show.
See if I can find it.
Good show. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us, and I hope you subscribe. Check out our website, horrormelee.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find us on Stitcher and iTunes. And come chat with us. Drop us an email, give us some feedback, start a conversation on Facebook. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, even if it's just to tell us to fuck off.
Yeah. We'll take it.
But do it
tastefully.
Tastefully.